Good morning. It's Saturday, November 27th. And as usual, I go rummaging through the internet to find things interesting to talk about. At least these things are interesting to me, and most of the time, the people that I send these rants to find that they agree with me or disagree with me, but they find it interesting enough to listen to the things that usually run between 6 and 8 minutes. I try to keep it in that range because I worry about the attention span of the recipients. So in any event, I find this article about a young man and his child. And this child has apparently been on the internet, and it's a kid of about 5 or 6 years old. He's on the internet. And the parent asks him something about dog snacks. And the kid goes into a long, rambling explanation of all the things that he found on the internet. And among them was some story on the internet about how people are killing bears to get the bones to feed to the dog, something like that. And the guy is upset because he views that the internet is corrupting his children. And maybe they are. And then whose fault is that? Is that the fault of the child? No, certainly not. The children are inquisitive creatures, and they look for things that will interest them. Some things they find that interest them are great, and some things they find that interest them are not so great. But in any event, I don't feel that any parent has the right to point a finger at some other cause for their children's behavior. In my mind, we, the parents, the grandparents, are responsible for our children's actions, our children's thoughts. We may not agree with everything they think about, but we should know what they're thinking of. We should understand that it's our responsibility to take care of our children, to make sure that they're going to grow up with an opportunity to make a good life for themselves. And it's very difficult for parents to deal with that because in an instant a child can get on your nerves for whatever reason. And then we all react differently. There are those who will hit the kid. There are those that will sit the kid down and try to explain what he did wrong or what direction he's going into or what help he needs. And the parent should be there, ready to do all those things. It's our responsibility. It is not the responsibility of anybody else to take care of our children. And yes, we send them off to school to get a good education. And we try to live in a place where good education is available. But that doesn't mean that we don't pay attention to what they're learning, and that we don't have a say in perhaps the perspective that they've picked up at the educational institution. First grade, third grade, fifth grade, high school, college, who knows? College is difficult because in college they're going to learn a lot of things that are not necessarily what you want them to learn. But they must learn, and they must have had a foundation that we have instilled in them. And so that they can cope with the world when they get to be the right age. So this business that I'm reading about, this person is upset with the internet, and I find no reason to be upset with the internet. The internet is what it is, and everybody recognizes what it is. It's a big advertising mecca. There's nothing on the internet that is free, and there's nothing on the internet that is correct or incorrect. It all depends on your view of it. So if you find that your children are going to websites that you do not approve of, you can block them, you can do things, you can control the environment. And I'm not so necessarily sure that controlling the environment is 100% okay. I think you have to watch out as a parent. You have to watch out. You have to watch the child, see what he's doing, If you don't like what he's doing, then you sit down and talk to him or her about it and explain why you have an opinion different from theirs. Sit down and explain. Spend some time. How many of us have the time to spend? Well, we being grandparents, we have lots of time to spend. If we even get the opportunity, because our kids are spread out all over the country in many cases. Like I have a child in Atlanta and a child in Washington State and grandchildren and great-grandchildren in Washington State. So I don't get too much to interface with those people on a regular basis. Telephone call here and there. But that's beside the point. The point is that parents are responsible for their children. And you know what? I say that easily because I was responsible for my children and my parents were responsible for me. And even though they worked hard, they still had time, and we had great discussions around the table when I was a teenager. And we argued about a lot of things. And I don't know that that exists in the world today. I don't know, with the kids having internet and having their own phones and everything, that they get the opportunity to sit and argue with their parents or their brothers or their sisters or their cousins, to really find out what's going on and to understand what's going on in the world. I think we've got a locked up society, locked up with their phones, and everything that happens, they pull out this instrument and start pressing buttons. And the value of talking is disappearing in the sense that you sit around and you discuss a topic without a phone, face to face. So in this rant, I'm saying it's not the internet that's the problem. It's the parents. It's society right now is the problem. And in many cases, I'm not so sure I would want a kid educated by their parents, because there are many, many parents out there, in my mind, that are not doing a very good job with their children. They teach hate. They don't inspire goodness in their children. So that's what I have to say for today. And just keep in mind, remembering that internet, the big tech, is a business. It's not there to really inform you. It's there to gather information about you and to use that information to promote profits for themselves. I don't know if you can explain that exactly to a 5-year-old, but by the time they're 7 or 8 or 10, they ought to understand that explanation. They ought to understand that what they see out there is not necessarily in the best interests of everybody. Remember that big tech is catering to you because they have learned more about you than you know about yourself. So, that's it. I'll see you in the morning. Bye.